pick your brain?
Ew.
It
Well, that's what we're talking about today, actually, right? We're talking
is.
about how when you are in business,
Mhm.
and you start to get a certain level of like visibility and people start to know you for something, which is one of the things we always want, right? As
Yep.
marketers and for our business, you start to get these requests from people where sometimes they'll just flat out say, "Can I pick your brain for a few minutes?"
Hmm.
And other times they don't say that necessarily, but they're asking you questions and you realize, oh, they're asking me to, give them some thoughts and ideas for free, And I
Yeah.
think some people get to the point in their business where they're resentful of that, and other people use it to their advantage as a funnel entry point. And
Yeah.
yeah, that's what we're going to talk about today. Like, how do you feel about it? How do you feel about it, Heather, when people ask you all kinds of questions about whatever your areas of expertise are? Like, how do you think about it? Does it depend on your mood? I know for me, it depends on my mood.
Um, you know, as Mr. Rogers would say, is look for the helpers.
Yes.
I am the helper, Jana.
Yes, yes. So of course you're going to have lots of people asking to pick your brain and like it's a good thing. It really is. When you have people asking that, it's like a rite of passage. So you should feel good about it that people are asking you. It's just a
Yeah.
question of knowing how to handle it in a way that serves you
Mhm.
and your business well. So,
Yeah, and you really do have to find a way to create boundaries. That way the resentment doesn't build up, and you're
mhm.
also able to support the people who are coming to you. Um, the way that I look at it is every conversation around my expertise and how I can help my students and my clients. Every opportunity for a conversation is an opportunity for sales. Now, I'm not looking at every single person that comes to me as a dollar sign,
Mhm. Right.
but every single conversation, every interaction with someone builds up like points, almost
Mhm.
like fake points that are like, okay, they trust me. They trust me enough that they're coming back and continuing to ask me questions, or they're circling back on a piece of content I created, or they have further questions about this thing.
Yep.
And I just look at it as an opportunity to open up a dialogue and make an opportunity to continue to sell not only my products, but my knowledge
Yep.
to people in the world that it can benefit. And I've done this for my entire business in the multiple iterations of businesses that I've run, and I found it to be really successful for me. Now, I
Yep.
do have boundaries, and sometimes people will ask me questions and I just want to answer them. And there have been people that have taken advantage of me, and I've just stopped responding. And I think eventually people get the note, you know.
Yeah.
Um, or there have also been times where I'm like, you know what, I think this would be a better, better if we did it in this way or that way, or here's a link to a call and it has a price tag
Yep.
attached.
Right.
Um,
Yep.
so yeah, that's in a nutshell, like how I view it and handle it.
Yeah. And it's normal for there to be some trial and error around
Yeah.
this, you know what I mean? So anybody who has experienced this before or starting to experience this now will understand that like there's sometimes some missteps. Like we all have been in situations where we let somebody ask us more questions than we probably should have.
Yeah.
But that's how we learn where the boundaries are. And that's how we get to the point where you and I both are now. And people who really can take advantage of these conversations to serve their business are where it's like kind of you don't even have to think that hard about it. You just kind of naturally know what you're willing to answer for free, so to speak, and where it becomes something where you need to offer them either a paid pick my brain session or something else, which we're going to talk about some tactics that we both use that we recommend
Mhm.
people use to do this. But um, there's some trial and error where you're figuring out your boundaries, and that's
Yeah.
normal. So if anyone's listening and they're like, yeah, I let someone take advantage of me and I gave them too much information and they just ran with it. And I realized in retrospect that I should have charged for that or that I've charged other people for that and it would
Mhm.
have been better to charge them for it or whatever. It's totally okay. It happens to all of us.
Yeah.
And that's how you learn and how you figure out your boundaries and then get really used to what your boundaries are.
Yeah.
Um,
I
and
also,
also
oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say too that like you mentioned that it's an opportunity for a sale, and I agree. It's an opportunity. Anytime anyone's asking me questions, they might be someone who could be a buyer.
Mhm.
Also, one thing about that is it's also an opportunity to learn about your audience and doing like basically like market research
Yes.
because what the questions people are asking you are like looking at those and seeing the patterns of them
Yes.
is also valuable. And so in that way, it's an opportunity for sales. Even if this person doesn't end up being the buyer, you've learned that this is something that people want from you, and you can turn around and utilize that information in a variety of ways, create content about it, for example, or know that maybe there needs to be an offer where you can solve that for someone, right? So there's also that part of it as an opportunity too, not just to sell to that human, but also giving insight into what humans want to know from you and what they would like to solve and what they need from you. So go ahead.
I was actually gonna say the latter part of what you just said. I
Mhm.
use this method um of just like people coming to me and starting conversations as a way to keep a pulse on what my audience is um learning, listening to,
Right.
who they're gathering information from. I can really quickly tell when someone comes to me and they've been duped
Mm,
based on things that they're saying. And
yeah.
they're coming to me and they're asking me questions because, they realize, oh, maybe that other advice I got wasn't really good.
Hmm.
They've now possibly paid money for this.
Yeah.
And now they need clarification. I can
Yeah.
also tell through these conversations like where people are at just based on historical conversations that I've
Hmm.
had. So I know right away, like if someone is just looking for advice,
Yeah.
if someone is being disingenuous,
Hmm.
if someone is being genuine and
Hmm.
really just like they just need help. They just have a
Hmm.
really quick question, and me answering it would set them off on the right path. This sets the tone for future interactions I have with these people too. So
Right. Right.
I love I love that part of all of this
Yeah.
because it really puts me in the driver's seat for sales.
Yep. Yeah. I love that. So let's talk tactics.
Yeah,
So sorry, I'm gonna mute and cough and then I'll be
perfectly fine.
okay. Um, so you mentioned a couple things a second ago that we can actually add into our tactic list, but we came to this call with a list of like two tactics that we both are used to using. One of them is having a low cost paid pick my brain call. And that doesn't mean that every single person that asks you a question automatically just gets that link. They can if you want them to. Like you get to decide what your boundaries are. And if your boundary is I answer absolutely zero questions, for free, you can do
Yeah,
that.
absolutely.
I personally don't do that. I wouldn't do that. I
I
wouldn't
wouldn't.
recommend it because I think having those initial conversations, as we've discussed, can be really valuable. But once you know your boundary, when you're feeling like someone has hit it and they need more from you and you want to give them more, but it needs to be in a consultative situation, having a link that you can easily send somebody where they can book that call. So for years, I offered a 45-minute pick my brain session for $99.
Yeah.
I actually just increased it this year to 199.
Yeah.
Um, and it's an hour now for 199. So it's not that much different. But
No.
also, I heard the other day, just as an incidentally, I've always hated pick my brain. That's why when you said that, I was like, ew. Someone used a better term the other day, and I renamed my call. So it's not pick my brain, it's oh, I forgot what it is already. I'm gonna
I'm
find
gonna
it and
go
I'll tell
look.
you. Yeah, if you go to Tidy Cal, if you go to my website and then strategy calls, you'll see it listed there. Actually, I could just pull it up real quick too. But having that there just as a backup to offer to people sometimes, or even I don't know, there's something about having it there mentally that also helps to know that um like it basically means that like when somebody hits
Borrow.
that point, you'll be able to offer them. I just can't find it right now. Do you
It's
see
called
it?
borrow.
Yeah, borrow my brain instead of pick my
Hmm.
brain. Isn't that good?
I love it.
Yes. Okay. So borrow my brain is how I'm calling it now instead of pick my brain. Because when I think of pick my brain, I think of like a vulture,
Hmm.
which is gross. So anyway, okay.
A
Um,
vulture.
Yeah, so borrow my brain's better. Uh, and it kind of like I feel like it's better like I feel like pick my brain is like where you're doing it for free and you're like it kind of has that like negative connotation, you know?
Hmm.
But then borrow my brain is like, okay, you can borrow it, but like, there's a fee associated with it,
Yeah.
so it's kind of like is a nicer way to say like, yeah, borrow my brain. Here's a call link for you. Um, But anyway, so having it there when people need it is really good. And it puts you in, I feel like having that link puts you back in the helper seat
Mhm.
and makes you feel like when somebody starts asking too many questions in a pick my brain situation, like in the DMs and Instagram, for example,
Yep.
instead of just cutting them off and being like, okay, that's it, you have to like buy my program if you want the answers, there's like another way you can help them for a low cost that's lower than your program in some cases. For you, that might be a little different because your membership is someone can come into your membership for a pretty affordable rate and immediately be able to like tag you in the Facebook group with a question, for example. Is that correct?
Yeah, if someone is paying for my membership,
Mhm.
um, they get access to my community, so they can ask questions there. Coincidentally, I answer most community questions on office hours calls,
Mhm.
but you have to be in the membership to be in this community. So I'm usually not the one answering the questions in the Facebook group.
Yep.
So if someone needs help faster, they're usually getting support from other community members, which is how
Yep.
I built the culture around the group anyways.
Hmm.
Um, and then if I get to the end of my question list, like pre-submit on office hour days, I'll just go to the Facebook group and I'll just start picking out things that people have been conversating around or asking questions about, and I will um, indulge in conversation based on those things on office hours calls. And it's always really great conversation. So yeah, and then
Hmm.
if you're in my membership, a lot of times people will email me, which is not my favorite. This year
Hmm.
and last year, I started getting away from that, and that has been really, really good. So we just
Hmm.
send them the form, and every email that we send that's like, "Hey, we have an office hours coming up. Pre-submit your question." We make sure the form is in there, so
Yep.
we collect everything in one place, and that's been really helpful. Actually, every single one of those tasks, I could probably have ClickUp AI like pull all of those questions together over the years. There's 5 years worth of them in there.
Which
And I
comes
could
back to the market
probably,
research thing. You can find out what the patterns are. Yeah.
there's
Hmm.
so much in there. It's actually
Hmm.
probably insane.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, getting back to just having a link. So it's pretty easy to set this up with like either TidyCal,
Yeah.
which I love,
I use Google
Calendly or
Calendar.
Acuity. Google Calendar can work too, where can you have someone pay for an appointment through Google Calendar? Amazing.
Yeah. If you have Google Workspace,
Hmm.
which I do, and I pay $84 a month for,
Hmm.
um, you can set up, it connects straight to Stripe. There's no
Great.
other options, so it's actually really helpful because I don't like
Okay.
PayPal at all.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's very
Cool.
simple.
Awesome. And I use TidyCal. So TidyCal, I moved over to TidyCal a while ago originally I was using the Dubsado scheduler because I was using Dubsado when I was more of a done for you provider.
Yeah,
And eventually I realized that I wasn't using Dubsado for anything other than a calendar
I
because I
just did
had
the
gotten
same
away
thing.
from it and I was all my revenue was coming through Teachable instead of Dubsado.
Yeah,
So like a year and a half ago, I got rid of Dubsado and I moved my calendar to TidyCal, which I really like. And I can't remember if you can always get TidyCal this way, but from time to time, AppSumo runs a deal where you can get TidyCal for
for
like
really
one
cheap.
flat payment for a lifetime. So instead of paying every month for it, like you pay for
Yeah,
Calendly or something, you just pay, I think it was like $79 and you can use it for life.
yeah.
Um, and it's so good. TidyCal's so good. It has all the functionality that you need for
It's
all
really
these
nice
things.
looking these days
Great.
as well.
Yeah, it is nice and attractive too. It's a nice plus.
I really, really like the look of it. It does look really nice. It was not on when I was looking to switch from HoneyBook a few months ago. It was not on AppSumo, but I have seen it on there off and on over the years.
Mhm. Yeah,
So it's definitely a good solution for this. And I
yeah.
love the fact that it's integrated. It looks really nice. I was just on yours. It looks very clean. Um, so yeah,
Thanks.
really like
Yeah,
it.
so it used to be that when you went to my work with me menu on my website and you went to strategy calls, it
Mhm.
would go to a page on my website that had like the different types of calls that I offer and like talked about what they were, and then a link to like the checkout page on Dubsado to like buy it, and there was like a workflow behind it so that people could submit their questions before and everything.
Yeah.
And it was fine, but it just, I didn't need Dubsado anymore. So sorry, my nose is so itchy today. So now when you go to my work with me page, if you go to the strategy calls, it actually just defaults you right to my public TidyCal page. So it just redirects to, or not redirects, whatever. It goes to tidycal.com/Jana O Media. And
Yeah.
I have like probably like, I think I have like maybe 14 different types of calls, but only like 3 or 4 of them are listed as public so that people can access them that on that page. Um,
Yeah. And I
so
love
it's a really good tool for pick my brain calls. It's great. I mean, borrow my brain calls.
borrow your brain calls. I love Google Calendar because they set up the booking pages. Now you can't like do any like major customizations with the booking pages. Um,
Mm,
so if you're like obsessive about branding or anything like that, like just know it's
mm,
good, it's very basic, but most
mhm,
people are using Google Calendar anyways, so it's whatever.
mm,
And the only thing with Google Calendar that I'm not a huge fan of is I can't have it connect, even though I have Zoom integrated into my workspace.
mhm.
It won't let me choose Zoom rooms as a meeting place. I can only do Google Calendar or Google Meet,
Oh, Google
or I
Meet.
can
Yeah.
set like I can set it later.
Yeah.
So that's not super fun. I'm probably going to be looking to iterate with Zapier later on to
Yep.
maybe make a connection and like an integration there.
Hmm.
But for now, it works really fine. And there's been a
Yeah.
lot less hiccups. I don't have to manage my schedule in multiple different places.
Hmm.
Previously, I would have to book off time on my actual Google Calendar to block off any calendar availability on HoneyBook. And it just automatically is doing that now. So if I have something in there, it doesn't allow
Hmm.
for anyone to book over that spot because it's the same
Right.
calendar that people are just booking on.
Right.
And you can't
Yep.
see all of the appointments or anything that I have in there, like what I have in my calendar.
Right. Right. It doesn't like make that public or anything like that.
No.
Right. Yeah. That's probably a concern people have when they think about switching their scheduler
Yes.
to Google. Yeah. Yeah. So that's a good tactic for that. And I'll just say, like, I would say that throughout any given year, if I have a certain number of people, let's say I have 10 people reach out to me on Instagram DMs and ask me questions, and I answer to a certain degree, and then they say, like, they ask me another question, and I say something like, yeah, that's also a really good question based on what I've already shared with you and how I would want to answer that question. I'd really
Mhm.
want to know more about like your circumstances and your business particulars, which means that the best place for me to be able to really give you good answers for your additional questions would be on a borrow my brain call, which is a paid call. And I'll say, so if you want to book that, I'd be happy to go deeper on this with you. Here's the link.
Yeah.
And then I'd say like 20% of the time people actually book it, and the other 80% of the time people don't. And they'll
Hmm.
usually be polite. They'll just say like, okay, great, thanks. I'll book that when I need it or something like that. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So it's not only is it a place to get paid for people asking you more questions, it's also a really good way to set a boundary
Hmm.
and like sort of like end the call or end the conversation in a way that is polite and helpful and basically say to someone like, okay, here's my boundary. Like you just
Hmm.
asked more questions than I'm willing to answer for free here, and here you go.
Yeah.
So I guess my point is it's like it's a good way. It's not just about monetizing. It's also about like setting that boundary and knowing that it's there so that you can use that as a tool to enforce that boundary, right?
Yeah.
Um, the other big strategy that I think is really, really good for people to think about, and this is me thinking of this as a content strategist and a blog strategist, is
Hmm.
if you're getting the same questions a lot in these types of scenarios, you should have a blog post that answers the question.
Yeah.
And inside of high leverage content, my program, I teach people how to write blog posts that do things like answer questions like this, but also at the same time are naturally talking about your paid offer and selling your paid offer.
Yeah.
So if you've written a blog post the HLC way, the way I teach it inside the program, that answers the question that you get from people a lot, but does it in a way where you're setting up the value of your paid offer, you can really take advantage of these conversations, right?
Yeah.
So say somebody sends you a question you can give them kind of, if you want to, this is up to you, you can give them kind of a basic answer in order to be like polite and feel good about it. And then you can say something like, I also wrote a blog post about this that went into it in a lot more detail and shares a lot more of like the nuanced answer to your question because I can tell there's probably more underneath your question than what you're asking me here.
Yeah.
So and then you could say, would you like me to share that blog post with you? Or you can just say, here's a link to it. I think it'll be helpful for you,
Yeah.
right? So then somebody goes, okay, great. They click on it, they go over and they read it. Now they're on your website. They're reading your blog or skimming your blog. That blog was built to convert them. So some of them are going to be like, oh, okay, great. She has something that actually solves this problem. I'm going to buy it. And they buy it. Or they'll be like, okay, I can see she really knows her stuff and she does have the ability to help me solve this problem. I am going to grab that lead magnet from her. And now they're on your email list, right?
Yep.
Because maybe the call to action for your blog post is your lead magnet, or maybe the lead magnet is in your sidebar or about across the top in like a hello bar, like I have it. So if you have your blog written in a built to convert way in the way I teach it in HLC, and you have your website set up in a way that is there to capture leads and get people buying, then you can actually harness these, pick my brain kinds of questions and conversations to move people into your paid offer or move people into your email list where then you're also going to offer your paid offer.
Yeah.
And so that's a way to really take advantage of these conversations as well. Um, And so it really starts with noticing the patterns of what people are asking you when they're asking you these pick my brain questions and thinking, oh, okay, this is a pattern. I should have a blog post about this, and then writing it in a high converting way. So that's the other strategy that I use a lot. So just to kind of like bring this to life more, I'll just give you an example. Like, let's say someone says to me, I was just going to use a really meta example. So let me try to think of one that's not so meta so we don't get confused. Um, let's say someone sends me a message and says like, I see you teach people how to write blogs. My problem is that like I am so slow at writing them and I never finish them. Do you have any tips or like what should I do? I could say to them like, oh, take my program, pay me $9.97 and jump into high leverage content. I teach you that inside, and I give you tools for that and everything. But that might be a little bit too much of a jump, you know? So I might say to them, I know you're multitasking. It's okay. I'll keep talking. Um, I might say to them, actually, I have a blog post where I literally wrote about like 4 ways that I teach my students how to write blog posts faster and actually like get across the finish line with them, get them out of your Google Drive and onto your blog. Would you like me to share that with you? And they, of course, sometimes they say yes. You can get a little,
I
um,
had a visitor
and
and I didn't want
yes,
to
I
be
saw her in the
seen.
background there. Yeah. Um, and so if they say yes, or if I just share that blog with them, they're literally going to land on a blog on my page, on my blog that literally does share like 4 different strategies that I use to make sure that I'm not slowing myself down too much. Like these are the ways I help you. And like these are some tips for writing faster. And some of the tips that I'm sharing are things that highlight my program. So like, for example, one of the 4 tips that I give about how to write blog posts faster is to lean on repeatable frameworks and outlines that you use for blog posts so that every time you go to write a blog post, you don't have to start from scratch. You can use an outline that you know works. And I say you can create your own if you want based on what you've seen work on your blog, or you could join high leverage content and you get access to all 9 of my high converting blog post template outlines that you can use so you're not staring at a blank page, right? So, and then I have 3 other strategies in that blog post that, again, are answering the question they asked me, which is like, how do you get people to like, how do I write faster? Like, it takes me like weeks to finish a blog post. Um, so that's an example of kind of like bringing people along and being like, I have a great resource for that. Here's the resource. And then the resource itself naturally gives them value while it is also educating them on the resources that are available inside my program that they're probably going to want because those are the things that are going to be the fastest and most effective, like solve your problem quick kinds of solutions to what they're asking me. Right. Oh, you're on mute.
I was saying, I think that's so good because they get a teaser from you and then they can
Right.
see like what it's like to actually work with you. That's why I think pick my brain calls as an entry point are actually super powerful.
Yep.
Um,
I
and can
agree.
work really, really well as a conversion mechanism later. It builds trust, all of that good stuff. So,
Mhm.
um, really like that, really enjoy that. I do the same thing with YouTube videos where I'll send
Exactly.
people YouTube videos. Hey,
Right.
I
And it
think,
works for podcast episodes really well for people too. So tell us about the
yeah,
YouTube videos. Yeah.
I'll say, they'll be asking me a question about whatever, and I'll be like, you know what, instead of having to explain this again, or I think this would be a really good resource for you to start with.
Mhm.
People have actually sent me pick my brain type questions in email, and I've just really quickly gone to my YouTube channel, grabbed two or three videos that I think would be a solid fit for them, like in order. And I'll tell them, I think you should watch these videos one, two, three in order. And then I believe you'll get your questions answered. If you have any more after that, feel free to follow back up.
Hmm.
It's so easy for me to do that.
Yeah.
Or I'll grab a playlist
Beautiful.
that I think
Yep.
someone could start with.
Yep. Yep. And the common denominator here between your strategy with the YouTube videos and my strategy with my blog, and I've seen people do the same thing with podcast episodes, is long form content that is evergreen,
Yeah,
right? Not that
exactly.
you couldn't say, you could say to somebody like, oh, I did like an Instagram reel that addressed that, like 3 months ago. Let me go find it for you and send it to them. You could.
Yeah.
But number one, it's probably only going to be like under 5 minutes, which may not give you enough space to really answer their question well.
Hmm.
And number two, like you have to like go looking for it. I mean, I guess you have to go looking for it on the YouTube channel too, so maybe that's not a good example. I'm not sure why I feel like that's different, but
It's
to me, long
difficult
form
with
content
YouTube.
is better for this. But what'd you say?
For me, it's difficult with YouTube to tell people, oh, just go find that on my channel. Like I talked about that
Right.
because I do like 2 or 3 weeks ago, I published a video about how to repurpose content with AI, like with an AI bot. And then today I'm publishing a video about how to use the pin bot. And they might see two of those videos and be like, which one is it?
Mm-hmm.
It's less time for them to have to spend just asking me the question and me giving them the video directly because the
Yeah.
title might not be exactly
Yeah.
right.
Right.
I A/B test titles on all my YouTube videos, so it's A/B testing three titles over the course of like a day or so.
You do?
Yeah, YouTube just does it automatically. Like I just write three titles and stick it in, and YouTube just does its thing. Like so, it might not always be the
Wow.
exact title that I tell them,
Cool.
depending on when people ask. So it's just easier for me to be like,
Yeah. Yeah.
it was this video.
But if you were someone who created a lot of reels on Instagram and they were longer form, I guess you could use the same strategy. I mean, I like to say like, no, you should have long form content, but maybe you could probably do that too, honestly, like with reels or even carousels.
Yeah,
They just don't, to me, they don't feel like they go deep enough. And like, I don't know, there's something for me about like saying like, if someone DMs me on Instagram and they ask me a pick my brain question and I send them to one of my Instagram carousels, I don't know, there's something about that that feels like I'm not really giving them anything generous. I don't know
yeah,
why. Maybe that's a mindset problem on my part. But whereas if I go to a longer form blog that I feel like really digs into it and gives them a lot of nuance on their answer, and like, a lot of times too, I think this is a separate thought, but so anyway, finishing that thought, I just think that I like sending them to my long form content. It feels deeper and better. The other thing that I was just about to say though too is like a lot of times when people ask you pick my brain questions, tell me if you've noticed this too, especially as we've gotten better and better at knowing what's going on with people. Like you can kind of be like, oh, I'll bet she's been duped, or oh, I bet, this is what's going on. They sometimes think it's a simple question that they're asking us, and that's why they're saying, can I pick your brain on this simple question?
yeah,
But we know that actually there's a lot more to it than that. Right.
yeah,
And that's always how it is as the expert. You're always kind of thinking, oh, she doesn't understand that there's actually this root cause issue most likely going on. Right. And
yeah,
so, again, sending them to a piece of long form content, which is designed, and this is again one of the techniques we use in HLC, to talk about the problem that she's asking me about at the surface level, the one that she knows she has and asks me about how to solve, but also takes her through the nuanced answer and helps her see that there's like this potentially like this root cause.
yeah,
Right. You doing all that with a blog post instead of trying to have that conversation with someone and having them like trying to show them the root cause over like Instagram DMs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it really does serve people better. And if you're someone who is a true expert and you care a lot about those like root causes and things, the pick my brain questions can be really frustrating because it's like you start to feel that resentment where you're like, oh, she just wants me to give her a magic pill. And it doesn't work that way. But when you have a long form piece of content where you can explain all of that in a way that it's going to land well for the person, it's like, it's so nice. You know what I mean? Instead of having to be
Yeah.
like, listen, lady, I don't have a magic pill for you, you know? So
Listen,
I think there's
lady.
also, that's the other thing about that I like a lot about this technique, where instead of just answering people's questions in the DMs to ad nauseum, right? You're sending them to long form content that explores it in a way that's actually going to show them what they need to be aware of and thinking about to truly solve the problem, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I also think that, there is a point in at which you have to shut it off, but I think there's also something to be said if you wanted to do some automation around this. I'm actually, as we started this conversation today, thinking about brainstorming about setting up some automations on like
Hmm.
Instagram, Facebook, so when posts go out,
Hmm.
um, if someone wanted to pick my brain or like if I wanted to talk about my offers or anything like that, like they could
Hmm.
be almost like put in an automation sequence. Now, we don't want
Like,
to have
like
conversations on
using,
autopilot.
do you mean meant like ManyChat or?
Yeah. So
Okay.
like if someone's like, hey, Heather, what's, and they use a keyword or something like that, like you could set it up in like keyword format.
Hmm.
Um, can I pick your brain or something like that? Like I could
Hmm.
send them a DM and follow up, or I could set it up as an automation to send them the calendar booking link. Like,
Yeah.
hey, love to chat. Here's the link to book a call.
Yeah.
I
The
think
thing
it just
is
depends on,
a lot of times people don't say, can I pick your brain? They just ask you a question
no,
that is recognizable to you as a, oh,
yeah.
she wants to pick my brain. So, yeah.
But I could envision a way, like a way where you could almost make it part of your content marketing strategy.
Yeah, I think so. Like, because if you, especially if there is really a very common question,
Mhm.
you could do it that way. I also have seen people do many chat this way where they'll use polls. So
Mhm.
it'll be like, when it comes to writing blog posts really fast, like, what's your biggest challenge?
Yeah,
Like, it's taking you too long to write it. You don't know what to write. You don't have enough to say, or you're not sure you have enough to say that would fill a whole blog post, would be like the second potential answer.
yeah,
And the third one might be like, I have a lot to say, but I never feel like I finish blog posts, so they just sit in my Google Drive and collect dust and never get published. And then, depending on how people answer that poll, you could send them a mini chat with like a link to a blog post that gives them some solutions for that.
yeah.
But that's kind of like a separate strategy altogether, right? It's not really like a pick my brain strategy, but
No.
yeah. But it's a good one, I think, and I've seen people do it really well.
But generally speaking, like this whole thought process is to actually have conversations with people.
Hmm.
And that isn't something you want to automate. But if you did want to like, offer people the ability to book calls kind of on go, like if
Hmm.
you wanted to allow that access to your calendar. Now, I'm very stingy with my calendar these days. So it is visible, people can find it, but the only way that you can book a discovery call with me, which is my only free call, by the way, is filling out a form. And you
Hmm.
have to fill it, like all the answers are required.
Yeah. Like, yeah, all the answers.
All the answers are required.
Yeah.
And there's like
Hmm.
6 or 8 questions or whatever, and you have to fill them all out. And then
Hmm.
I vet the form, and then I send you a booking link if I feel
Hmm.
like you're a good fit. If I don't feel like you're a good fit, I downsell you to a Pick My Brain call, a membership
Hmm.
spot, like whatever else piece of
Hmm.
content. That way I'm not bombarded. This is like a hard boundary that I have personally set with myself.
Hmm.
Um, Last year going into this year, just because I didn't really want to be as available as much, but
Hmm.
there is a publicly available Pick My Brain call on my website. And as soon as I put it on my Work With Me page, Shanna, I started getting more of them, more people just booking them
Yeah.
randomly. I'll have a couple a month now,
Hmm.
and they just find it on the Work With Me page.
Yeah. How much do you charge for those Pick My Brain
197.
calls? 197. Yep.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're charging the same amount now. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Was I going to say something about that? I don't know. It just flew right out of my head. I was going to say something about, oh, I know. I was going to say like, a lot of this depends on like the stage of business you're into. Like in the
Yeah.
beginning, pick my brain calls when people ask you to pick your brain. No, not calls, but like when people ask you, can I pick your brain? In the beginning, it starts to feel kind of like flattering. And then
Okay.
quickly, as it fills up your calendar and you realize what's going on, you start to realize, oh, I need a boundary here. And then you set up the boundaries,
Hmm.
right? And then at some point, maybe in your business, you get to the point where, like you're saying, there really isn't like, well, you're just saying there's only one, free call and people have to do some things to get it.
Yeah.
But my point is that depending on where you are in your business, you can make these decisions and set these boundaries. And here's the other cool thing about this. You can also make exceptions from time to time. So,
Mhm.
like, for example, if you decided based on the system you just set up, right, that over the summer you want to have some conversations with people to get some new ideas for content and stuff, you could send an email out to your list that says, I'm doing something special during the
Yep.
last 2 weeks of August or the first 2 weeks of August or whatever. I've opened up like, 6 spots for you to book a pick my brain call with me or a borrow my brain call with me. You could even say, I could say, like, normally these are $199, but for the first 2 weeks of August, I'm giving you like an 80% off coupon because I am wanting to have more conversations with people to get content ideas. So here's the deal. I listen into and you give me some things that you like. I'm going to ask you some questions about like what your biggest struggles are with writing blog posts, for example. And then like we'll spend the first 10 minutes of the conversation doing that. And then the next 50 minutes will be all about you and you asking me anything you want and me helping you.
Yeah.
Um, so you can always like make these boundaries in your business and set these systems up and then make exceptions for like short periods of time if you want to do
Yeah.
something a little different for something special like that. So
For
actually
sure.
maybe I'll do that this summer. It sounds like a good idea.
I have another idea that I'm gonna borrow your brain for after this. I have to finish listening to some other messages from you first, because I'm setting a hard line with myself because I get crazy. Um, and then I'll borrow your brain about the other thing.
Sounds good. Sounds good. And that's an interesting dynamic about this whole thing too. We're both fixing our hair.
I
Is
know.
that but like when you have biz friends who are like in reciprocal relationships, like you do this a lot with each other, is like you do
Yeah.
borrow your brain, you know what I mean? So when you say that, you just mean like, you have some things we want to talk about in our little informal business friend mastermind
Yeah.
WhatsApp channel.
It's always good to have
Um,
those relationships. I
yeah,
really, really value them.
yeah, it really is. So yeah, anyone who's listening, find your biz besties.
Yes.
Maybe we should do an episode about like how to find your biz besties.
I think that would be a fun episode to do.
Yeah, I'm gonna add it to our list.
Yeah. We have a live coming up next week on bad blog advice, Jana. Are you excited to talk about that?
Ooh, I am so excited to talk about that. I got some doozies for y'all, and you're all gonna be like, "What? You're telling me that is bad blog advice and I've been following it?" People are
I
gonna be
love
so
it.
surprised by some of the things that I think are bad blog advice.
I love
For
it.
example, bad blog advice. I think when I hear people who are coaches and service providers saying like, "Oh, well, I try to publish a blog every week or every month. I'm consistent with my blog." I'm like, "Oh, that's such bad blog advice for you." Be consistent with your blog is the worst blog advice for coaches
What
and
does
service
that even
providers.
mean? Like, objectively speaking, what does that even
We're
mean?
going to get into it. We're going to get into it, but I don't think you need to be consistent with your blog in order for it to work. In fact, I think that consistency when you have a blog with publishing your blog posts actually gets in your way of making money with it. So we'll
Mhm.
talk about that.
I love it. I love that you can foreshadow a little bit for next week's live. So same
Foreshadow.
place, same time, next week,
Yep.
10 a.m. Eastern. We will see you here. And I am excited to hear all about Jana's take on bad blog advice. I'm sure I can add to this conversation as well. So,
Okay. Very good.
bye. And we're out. Cool.
All right.